Okay, so here we're going to simplify this difference quotient formula. So this is the formula we want to simplify for this function. So first thing you want to do is figure out what these pieces are. So what is the expression for f of a plus h? And what is the expression for f of a minus h? Once we have them, we just plug them into the formula, divide by h. So let's figure out what is f of a plus h. So the function is -3 minus x squared. So we're going to be inputting this into our x. So if we do that, we have -3 minus x squared. Well, x is replaced with this new input, a plus h. And then we expand this out just to simplify it later on. So if I expand a plus h squared, well, that's simply, so we have -3 minus a plus h times a plus h. So that's what the exponent 2 represents. And now we're going to expand this out by distribution. So we have -3 minus, so a times a, that's a squared, a times a, that's a times h, and then again h times a, that's ah, and then h times h, that's h squared. And finally, you can combine these because these are like terms. So we have -3 minus parentheses a squared plus 2ah plus h squared. And finally, to simplify this expression further, we distribute the -1 out. So that would give us -3 minus a squared minus 2ah minus h squared. So that's going to be the expression we're going to substitute, replacing f of a plus h into the formula. Now we're going to find the expression for this piece right here, f of a minus h. So we'll do the same thing. We'll plug in a minus h into x and then expand and simplify. So f of a minus h, well, that's going to be, again, we plug a minus h into x. So that's -3 minus x squared. Now x is going to be this expression, which is a, oh, so this color is not visible. Let's use that, a minus h. So a minus h is now replacing x. And then we do the same thing. We expand it out just like the previous expression. So this would be -3 minus a minus h times a minus h. And then again, we do the same thing, expand this out. So that would give us, by expanding it, we will get -3 a squared. This case, we have -ah plus h squared. And then we distribute the negative out. So that would give us -3 minus a squared plus 2ah minus h squared. So there we have it. This is our expression for f of a minus h. So we have the expression for f of a plus h. We have the expression for f of a minus h. And we want to simplify what would happen if we do f of a plus h, take away f of a minus h, and everything divided by h. So that's what we want to simplify. So f of a plus h, well, that's this box right here, the first one. So we substitute that. So we have, let's write it out here so we can fit this to one screen. So we have -3 minus a squared minus 2ah minus h squared. That's f of a plus h. And then minus f of a minus h, well, that's the second box we got. So we have to put parentheses because it represents more than one term. So that would be, let me write it down here, -3 a squared, -3 minus a squared plus 2ah minus h squared. That's f of a minus h, and everything over h. So that's the setup. So as you can see that this is our representation for f of a plus h, and this term in parentheses is f of a minus h. And we're subtracting them, just like the formula says, and divide the result by h. So by doing further simplification, we have, so we distribute this negative out to every single term. So it looks a little weird because the negative h is on the bottom. So continuing, negative 3 minus a squared minus 2ah minus h squared. And then as you distribute the negative one out, you get positive 3, positive a squared, negative 2ah, and then positive h squared. Everything over h. So I have successfully distributed the negative out to the negative f of a minus h term. Finally, we cancel out terms. So it looks like negative 3 and positive 3 will cancel out. Negative a squared, positive a squared will cancel out. And then you see that negative h squared and positive h squared will cancel out. So what we're left with, it's simply negative 2ah and negative 2ah all over h. And that's a like term, so we have actually negative 4ah over h. And now, finally, we can actually simplify by canceling out the h, top and bottom, and that will leave us with negative 4. So that's the simplification for this difference quotient.